Hello everyone, it's Ali and welcome back to my channel. Let's talk about the topic of today's vlog because it's gonna be a little bit different than my other vlogs. I wanted to create this vlog that kind of showed not only a day in my life as being a deckhand here in Alaska, but also kind of how I got to this point because it's been kind of a cool journey, and I figured there might be some other people out there, especially girls, that are either interested in working on boats or they're in the marine biology field and are just wondering what kind of options are out there. And I feel like I've definitely taken a more unconventional route since graduating from college. I'm always kind of talking about my jobs that I've had, but I'm never really discussing how I got to this point in working on boats and everything. So I kind of figured that's what I would talk about today, in case anyone's just interested in what it's like being a deckhand, especially being a female deckhand, in all these different places that I've been. I think the first half of this vlog is going to be me. I wrote a little list of to keep me on track of what to discuss, how I got to this point, the journey that I've been on, basically since I was in high school to now. And in the second half of the vlog, I went ahead and vlogged a few days of my life as a deckhand here and what my job and day-to-day life consists of working on a boat out here in Alaska, so you guys can see what exactly I actually do. So yeah, let's get started. I'm not gonna try and fly through this, but I'm gonna try and give a brief summary, and if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below. So I grew up in Oklahoma, very landlocked state, but then whenever I was 15, my family moved to Orlando for my dad's job. So I moved to Florida, and I had been to the beach once or twice growing up, but this is my first time having actual access to Cocoa Beach, which is about 40 minutes away from Orlando, and I just fell in love. It was incredible just being able to be at the beach and experience that kind of world for the first time. So that's kind of where my love for the ocean began. I'd always been very passionate about the environment, but specifically with the ocean, that's where that kind of started. When I was starting to graduate high school and trying to figure out and narrow down a degree I wanted to focus on in college, I had a few different things that I was really interested in. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and then I watched two documentaries. One was Mission Blue, that was on Netflix. I think it still is, but it's basically about Dr. Sylvia Earle and her journey to create these Mission Blue hope spots, basically these protected spots of the ocean. Something about that documentary to me was just so life-changing and inspiring, and I think that's specifically what kind of pushed me to pursue this degree. And then the second one is called Maiden Voyage. It was also on Netflix. I don't know where it is anymore, but it's basically, I wish I could remember her name. It's about this girl who, whenever she was 14 or 15, really young, went on the first solo voyage across the entire world on a sailboat, and she did it all by herself. I think those two films combined just pushed me into this career path that I'm on. So that's how I ended up choosing my major as marine biology. I went to the University of West Florida. I got a full ride there. I did some research while I was in college. I specifically had an undergraduate thesis that went with the honors program that I was in that was focused on microplastics and seafood. And then the second research project I did, there's this program called Research Experience for Undergraduates, which is basically a paid research program you can do during usually the summer, I believe, and a bunch of different universities offer it, and usually you travel to that university. I did it during the pandemic, so it was virtual, but I was with the California State University at Monterey Bay, and my focus was on sea otters. Altogether, it was an amazing experience. It was basically just seeing and analyzing how sea otters respond to human disturbances like boats or kayakers, and see if that kind of plays a role in their everyday behaviors. So those were the two research projects that I did. I enjoyed them, but it kind of pushed me away from doing research, specifically because I like being in the field a lot, and this is how every researcher feels, I feel like. It's I love being in the field. I wasn't a big fan of lab work, and I hated analyzing my data. With the California State University, a lot of it was coding. I was using RStudio, and I'm just not a coder. I think if I took a full semester-long course on it, that's what I needed, but I was always doing these very brief introductions to it and just kind of thrown into coding, and I did not like it. I actually hated it. It just wasn't really for me, and I don't want to write it off for the future because I think if I did a more in-depth experience with it, it'd be a lot better, but that pushed me kind of away from research, so I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do whenever I was graduating college. And I should also mention the pandemic happened in 2020. I'm close to the end of my junior year, so that kind of threw everything to the mix. Everything was online. It basically shook everything up for me. I thought I wanted to go straight to grad school, but grad school was mostly online, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And so this leads me to kind of the beginning of my journey. So my best friend Ariel, who's been featured in a lot of my vlogs, she was also a marine biology major, and she moved out to Hawaii on Big Island right after she graduated from college. And I completed my research experience for undergrads. I completed my undergraduate thesis, and I was so burnt out after all of that, like the most stressed out I had ever been. My hair was falling out. It was horrible, such a horrible time in my life. I took way too much on my plate. I was also working a job, and so after that, Ariel, she was out in Hawaii and she's like, come join me. And I was like, oh my god, like what? And there's a lot of mixed emotions that go into me going out to Hawaii, but in the end I did end up doing it with my other friend Tracy, and me, Ariel, and Tracy lived in a 2-bedroom apartment, all 3 of us. Ariel lived in the living room. Whenever I first got out there, I got a job as a hostess at a restaurant. And I thought it was gonna be a temporary thing, but it ended up being like 6 months that I was this hostess at this restaurant, and I hated it. I hated it. The servers were so mean, the guests were so mean. I was crying in the bathroom every single day. So I was like, I need to get out of this hostess thing. And then one day I saw an ad. I was just like on Indeed, and I saw a job opportunity for a naturalist for the whale watching season with this company called Body Glove Hawaii. You only worked 2 days a week as this naturalist on the boat and just kind of spoke about the humpback whales that you'd be seeing. And I was like, you know what? Like, I meet almost all the qualifications. I am very prone to seasickness, but it's only 2 days for like an hour and a half each time or something like that. It's like, I can do this. I'll take my Dramamine and I'll be fine. And so I applied for the job, didn't think much of it, and then within like a day, I got a phone call and I did like an over-the-phone interview. I didn't know, you guys, I had never seen a whale in my life before this. Long story short, I got the job. Anyway, so as the whale watching season was coming to an end, which also, that really helped me improve my public speaking skills a lot, because I was so nervous and scared in the beginning. I had done a lot of public speaking in college in terms of like, I was president for clubs and everything and did research presentations, but nothing anything like this where I was speaking to like 80 people with a microphone on a boat speaking about these whales that I had never seen before. Fake it till you make it, you guys, because I did, and I ended up getting so comfortable by the end of the season, and I had such a good time on the boat that I applied to be a deckhand, and no one really believed in me that I could be a deckhand because I was like this scrawny little girl who had never worked on boats before. But they were kind of desperate at that point. I was already with the company. They were like, okay, whatever, we'll give you the job and see how you do. And I knew I really had to prove myself, and I did. I kept up with everyone. I learned how to tie lines, different knots, got on my hands and knees and scrubbed that boat. Whenever there was throw up, I was cleaning it up. So that's how I started my deckhand journey. This was a great boat to start learning on, and I loved the crew I worked with. It obviously wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. It was a really hard job. It was in the hot Hawaiian sun for about 13 hours every day, no overtime. We would do like morning snorkel cruises, and then we would do evening historical musical dinner cruises. And so if you worked a double and did both of those shifts, you would have like a 13-hour day. But it really built up my work ethic because I knew I had to prove myself and keep up with the big dogs, usually a bunch of big men, even though everything was a little bit like 3 times harder for me because I didn't have the body weight or the strength to do a lot of stuff like lifting up hatches or carrying these heavy boxes and everything. Whenever we had to like load the boat with all the gear in the morning and take it all off, I kept up and I got stronger and more resilient and did these 13-hour shifts, and eventually I was able to work my way up to first mate after about 7 months. There was the captain, first mate, and then the crew. I was kind of like the liaison between the captain and the crew, making sure everything got done, keeping it all organized, calling the shots and making decisions whenever the captain couldn't. I was one of like a few other first mates on the boat, and I was so proud of myself when I got that distinction. So again, fake it till you make it, you guys. I started out never working on boats, had never seen a whale, and by the end of 7 months, I was a naturalist, deckhand, and first mate. If I can do it, you can do it. I think I have one vlog on my channel where I do like a day in my life working on that boat, and it was again so much fun, but it was also so much work. It was really hard, especially if you are not a hot weather person like me, because you're doing a really difficult job in very hot weather. So that was definitely a challenge, and after about a year or so, I was ready to move on, and that is whenever Ariel and I, she was working on another boat, decided to move out to Alaska. And I won't talk too much about my first time in Alaska. I was a kayak guide and naturalist and also deckhanded a little bit, but that was more just tying up lines. It wasn't like true deckhanding, but I have a bunch of vlogs on my channel of all of last summer if you're interested in that. But that was the next step in our journey. And then after that, we went to Australia this past winter, which again, bunch of vlogs for that if you're interested in the process of me like finding a job in Australia and how that all worked. I was a cruise attendant on the Great Barrier Reef, so I was still working on a boat, but I wasn't deckhanding really. It was more just like stewarding, like being a stewardess, where I'm just like making the food and helping guests. But I did do a little bit of naturalizing, where we went down to the submarine and you had a marine biologist on board that would speak about all the cool things. And so I would do that, which was really cool. And I learned a lot about the reef system, which in Hawaii, I feel like I was so focused on these bigger marine mammals that we saw that I didn't focus too much on the reefs. But here in Australia, you're on the Great Barrier Reef, I learned so much more about reef fish, the coral, all of that. And so that was a really great learning experience also. Okay, so this brings me finally to coming back to Alaska. And again, I vlogged this whole process this whole summer if you want to watch any of those. Now this summer I am deckhanding full time. We have what's called a coastal cruise, so we will go out and kind of explore the coastline and hopefully see some wildlife, and more often than not we do, and it's been really amazing. Not only do I deckhand on this boat, I also am a naturalist, so I speak about all the cool wildlife and everything else that we see. This job is incredible. It's like the best job I've ever worked, I think. It is in part because I have one other deckhand that works with me, Savannah, and she is literally such an angel from above. I could not ask for a better partner throughout this whole process, because this is a brand new product our company is offering. So me, her, and our captain kind of basically got to build it from the ground up and decide the route, decide the speeches that were given, and to have her by my side for that whole process, I don't think I could have done it without her. It was incredible. But basically, when it comes to being a deckhand on this boat, it is again a lot of tying lines, making sure the boat stays clean, making sure we are staying stocked up on everything that we have. I will say, this job is not really hard at all compared to my job in Hawaii. I think having that job and it being so difficult made every job after that a lot easier. Here, as we're trying to sell tours and just kind of get this product up and off the ground, it's been pretty slow, but also has made it very easy for me and Savannah. I want to reiterate, like, I am so grateful for that, and it's been a really great experience and has been helpful as we work to create this product, to have the time to kind of shape it and figure out what we like and what we don't like. So I also want to say that, because if you have deckhanded before, you work on boats or anything like that, you might see what I'm about to show you of my day-to-day life and be like, that's really easy. And I want to reiterate that I know it's easy. It's been great, and I've worked much harder deckhanding jobs before this, and so to have this has been just, I've been spoiled on this boat and I love it so much. Oh, the last thing I wanted to mention was between Hawaii last year and this year working on boats, I'm getting really close to my captain's license. I think by the end of the summer I'll have enough hours to be able to start like applying to get my captain's license, which you do like a whole course and everything to get it. But that's for my 20 tonnage. You need about, I think it's 365 days of seat time, and I'll have just about that much and a little bit over whenever I apply. So that might be a goal for me this winter or spring, is to actually get my captain's license. I put in a lot of hard work over these last 2.5, 3 years towards this, and so I'm really grateful that that is in reach and that that's something that I'm able to do. So without further ado, that is my journey on how I got to this point. I try not to make it too long, so I kind of skipped over some stuff, but again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. And with that, the rest of the vlog will be a few days in my life kind of clipped together of what it is like being a deckhand, at least a deckhand on my boat here in Alaska. Yeah. Good morning, everyone. I just got onto the boat, and first things first that we always do is we clean and get it all nice and tidy. Usually one of us vacuums while the other one cleans the bathroom, and then we just make sure like all the binoculars are in the right place, there's no trash laying around, everything's just looking nice and organized. Usually we'll clean the windows once a week. We might do that today if we have time, because they're looking a little smudgy. But yeah, so let's go get started. I'm about to start cleaning the windows, but before I do, definitely need to crack open one of these. Ooh. Watermelon wave. will usually divvy it up. So we'll do outside windows one day, inside windows the next day, scrub the deck maybe every like 2 weeks depending on how gross it's looking. Major cleaning task for the day is complete. So now I just do some last minute checks, make sure everything's looking nice and tidy, everything's all put together. We are about to have our first tour in about 10 minutes at 10:15, and that'll be our first tour of the day. There's not a lot of people, only 11, and then we have a pretty big gap before our second tour, which is at like 2, I think. So hopefully all this fog clears up. It was supposed to be a sunny day, but right now the sun's there, but the fog is covering it. So hopefully the wind will push that all out, and we'll see some cool stuff today. So come along for the fun part. Spotted one of our humpback whales end of September, early October, and they'll start making their way back to those homes. So while they're here in Alaska, they have to make sure that they're eating a lot of food to prepare for that long journey and long stay. So they don't have teeth to chew things up. They have these big baleen plates made out of keratin. So we've just finished our first tour and the sunshine came out at the very end, which was so nice. It wasn't the most amazing tour. We saw sea otters, we saw a whale, we saw an eagle, but there were just a few sea otters and the whale wasn't really staying up for long. We'll see how tour 2 goes. The sun is officially out, all the fog is gone, so I think it's gonna be even more beautiful. And it's kind of a gamble. It's like, do you go to the place where you know you saw sea otters and you know you saw a whale, but it wasn't the best show, quote unquote, or do you risk it and go somewhere else where you might find more wildlife, but you might not find anything at all? So it's kind of a risk. We'll see what our captain thinks and go from there. Now we have about a 2-hour break in between. We've never had a break in between tours before, so this is because we never have had 2 back-to-back tours, so this is very exciting. I think we're just gonna hang out, eat lunch. I might do some work on my laptop, and then yeah, go do our second tour at 2:15. Sea otters. Hey.
Be
everything's looking good. Organize it all tomorrow. Woo! Okay guys, I have just returned home. It was a pretty short day, only like 8 hours. So it was good. That second tour was awesome because the sunshine was so beautiful and we had a nice little whale show at the end. It was pretty cool because we were driving into the fog for a while and then the shoreline and the sky just broke out and it was just a gorgeous day to be outside. And so yeah, these were two really great tours. First successful day doing back-to-back tours, so I'm happy it all went well and very smooth. Yeah, this is just a little bit of what it was like to be a deckhand on this boat with this tour, and I think I'm gonna vlog a little bit of my next tours that I have coming up that are on the other side of the island, a different product that we offer, just so you guys can see a little bit of what each tour is like. So yeah, stay tuned for that tomorrow. Good afternoon, you guys. It's Ali vlogging from Silver Bay. So this is not the cruise terminal. This is a different area of Sitka. And sometimes I do tours over here, so I figured I'd go ahead and show you what a day would be like out here. It's pretty much the same in terms of like setting up the boat, getting everything ready, talking to the guests. The narration's a little bit different. And then at the end, we basically cruise down this fjord, this glacially carved fjord called Silver Bay, and at the end of the fjord is a traditional Alaskan homestead that the guests can get out and like explore a little bit, where we have some other workers that are already there that have like prepped the homestead for the day. So this tour is pretty cool because Silver Bay is just so absolutely beautiful, especially on a day like today. And we also see a lot more salmon here, and also we see bears a lot on our tour. So I vlogged a little bit yesterday. I'm gonna vlog a little bit today just to show what this different tour is and how it kind of just differs from my other tour that you guys saw. Hopefully see some bears because those are always really cool to see, but Silver Bay is just on a whole other level in terms of beauty. So I wanted you guys to see that. My guests will be arriving any minute, so I gotta go, but come along for this beautiful work day in my life.
Every time you've been on my mind, swallowed by street lights, walking through the night. The air is cold, I'm all alone and you're crossing my mind. Said I don't know where we ever went wrong, but it's been 5 years and I'm thinking you're the one for me. You're the one for me. Baby, can't you see that? I feel you in my bones. I feel like I never know. It's taking over when you hold me. My soul will never roam. I feel you in my bones. You fill me up and you know it's taking over when you hold me. My soul was meant for you. Meant for you, meant for you. What I always say. Every day I'll sing your symphony. Run away, we can hide away. Don't matter the distance, my love won't go. Feel it in my bones so loud, shaking to the core rebound. Touching me, I left.
Whether I am tying up the boat, getting fuel, emptying the black water tank, my favorite, pretending to be captain, just kidding, completing projects, or cleaning, lots and lots and lots of cleaning. No day is the same out here on the water. Every day brings something new, and I love to embrace being outside and every adventure that the day may bring. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this vlog inspires you to get out in the great outdoors and get on the water. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.